So you asked me, how did I get introduced into hip hop? Wow. It's funny because one of my sisters out of the three, I was a kid, so I don't remember too much, you know. I can only remember vaguely. I was a kid, you know, I was like maybe 3 years old before my mom's died, and they would bring me to PS 123 with them, where Houdini or different hip hop artists would perform. You know, it wasn't hip hop art. That's hip hop artists really. It was like DJs. And I was a kid, and they would bring me behind the schoolyard, and I would watch the DJs or MCs with the DJs rap and DJ. You know, I'm from Harlem, New York City, so that's how I really. That was my first introduction to hip hop. And then as I got older, because I was a foster kid who lost my parents at a young age, I really wasn't into music. I was a strange kid, you know. I didn't really get reintroduced into hip hop until I moved to Frederick Douglass Projects. I'm not going to mention the people that I was surrounded by, but they introduced me really to hip hop. I was always a poet. I started writing poetry in school, and I had a teacher. You know, her name was Mrs. Goldport. She was a white lady, a very beautiful white lady who understood my expression through writing. So before becoming a hip hop artist, I was writing poetry. I didn't know about rap really. I didn't write rap because I was suffering as a kid. You know, you'll read about this in Little New Yorker, but I didn't write hip hop. I wasn't concerned with music because um, I was suffering too much. So I started writing poetry to express myself. And through poetry came hip hop. Now, with the people that I lived with, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. The Cuban family I lived with, they were Cuban and black, and this foster home. I was in a foster home, and these Cuban and black people, one of the sons would write hip hop lyrics. He had a beautiful penmanship. He can write. I mean, he looked like Shakespeare to me the way he wrote. And me, I was an ignorant foster child who didn't know how to read or write. And I learned from him how to penmanship. And from penmanship, that's where I started to understand how to write lyrics. Because this motherfucker would come in the room and write lyrics all day. He would write lyrics all day. And I don't know how he developed the style. You would have to ask him himself. But till this day, I don't know. I guess listening to the music, but I didn't have the life that he had. So I wasn't fortunate enough, you know, to be calm and be relaxed. I was resilient. So I had to change being resilient into understanding, and I learned how to write lyrics through him. And then we formed a group, and we, you know, neighborhood guys always talking about writing real lyrics. And, you know, I remember the first time I laid a verse and I wrote my lyrics, and they told me I was tone deaf because I was screaming over the mic. I was too expressive. I didn't know what I was doing. And it sent me home, and I felt very embarrassed. This is the first time. Speed up forward. I'm already, you know, understanding instruments. I went to a school called Borough Academy. Thank God to Miss Goldpaul. Like I said, I go back to the white lady. She was the lady who taught me how to use metaphors, not make fragments and sentences, be able to communicate and write sentences correctly, to be able to express myself in a normal way. Now we'll speed up. And there was a point where like my homeboys would tell me, my street home, like, you tone deaf, you don't even fucking understand what you're saying, we don't hear it, and I got embarrassed. Like I said, I'll speed up. One day I'm coming from a restaurant to take out food and bring it back home, and I run into DMX. But I'm not gonna tell the story right now. I'll tell you my celebrity stories, but I'll have to give it up to Earl Simmons. Earl, I won't say DMX, I will say Earl. Earl DMX Simmons. He helped me a lot be able, like Miss Goldpaul. and I can't mention other names. I'm sorry about this interview, dudes. And, you know, there's statutes of limitations. There's people that are locked up in federal prisons, and there's a lot of things that goes on in your life throughout a journey. And there's certain things that you'll read in a book, but I won't sit here and talk to you about them one on one through a camera. I'm not one of the young kids who will. I'm not even gonna go into it. I'll just say that read Little New Yorker. You understand? Read the Little New Yorker novel, and you'll find out how I really got into hip hop. But I can't talk about it. But you will find about it in the book, and the novel is lit. So, what's your next question?